How much time do you need to make a somewhat playable game? Well, you're about to find out, because in this video I challenged myself to make a game in 1, 10 and 100 hours. The rules are simple. All 3 games must have roughly the same concept and I have to come up with a playable version in each time interval. For the type of game I decided on the recently popular bullet heaven vampire survivor-like genre. Make sure to stay till the end, believe me, the 100-hour version is actually kind of sick. But now, without further ado, let's jump right into the 1-hour challenge. Okay, the timer is set and let's go. First, we make the player, and I'm sorry, but you have to look at squares and circles for this version of the game, because there is no way I'm able to make any kind of art in only 1 hour. After making the basic player movement, we can focus on the shooting mechanic, because what would a bullet heaven game be without bullets, right? It's probably the simplest shooting mechanism you could possibly code, but it will do the job for now. Obviously, we need something to shoot the bullets at, so yeah. Enemies. With the last few minutes we squeeze out a simple counter going up by 1 every time you kill an enemy. And just like that, the simplest version of our game is finished. It's really ugly and totally not fun, but hey, at least it's working. We started off the 10 hours by making some art. Just so you don't have to look at that ugly prototype art again in this video. I had some troubles creating the character for this game, but then I found this character sprite on my hard drive. I never actually made a game with it, so what better time to use it than now. And after some small tweaks to fit the style of the game better, we have our player character. Now we also need art for our bullet and enemy. And I don't know why, but I just woke up one day and thought, wouldn't it be epic if you could throw boomerangs in this game? So now the game is about boomerangs and apparently goats? Okay, don't ask me why. I was either really drunk or really tired or both when I had this idea, but I decided to make the enemies goats. But believe me, it actually turned out to be a pretty fun enemy in the 100-hour version. After importing everything into Unity, I rewrote the code for the player movement because the previous code was just a mess. And also for the sake of the challenge, it would be totally unfair to reuse stuff from the previous challenge. This time I won't start from scratch because it would be stupid to throw all this progress away. Then I implemented the logic for the boomerang, which went smoothly without any problems. I also rewrote the enemy script for the goat to follow the player, as well as making this fire hit effect. Almost as cool as the effect when you hit that subscribe button. I think the game looks a bit stiff, so you know it's about time for some animations. And it didn't took that long to make these, but it makes everything feel so much better. Currently our scene looks a bit empty, so I quickly put together an environment which I totally didn't spend like 3 hours on just to redo it later because it was way too small. Something felt a bit off with the attack of the goat and some knockback might fix it. Okay, maybe a bit less. Now it's much better. With the 10-hour challenge coming to an end, we still need an objective for the game. So I added a simple timer and end screen with the goal to survive as long as possible. And it is truly remarkable what you can achieve in only 10 hours. I mean, this is almost like a playable demo and it's actually kind of fun. But there is still a lot of potential which we can hopefully realize in the 100-hour challenge. This time I won't start from scratch because it would be stupid to throw all this progress away, but I will only work for 90 hours on this version to still keep it realistic. My main objective for the next hours is to implement an upgrade system like in Vampire Survivors, because this is usually where the fun lies in those kind of games. But first I moved the camera a decent amount away from the player and removed all the environment because it just looks better this way. But don't worry, we will add it back in a minute. I will go briefly into some technical details about the upgrade system now, so please stay with me for a sec. And since you all have the attention span of a goldfish, here you go. So first we need to rewrite some code to separate things like health, movement speed and basically all stats we want to upgrade later. To do this I decided to use scriptable objects for the first time in my life. Because when I started game development, Unity hadn't introduced scriptable objects yet and I later never had the motivation to try them out. To explain the whole upgrade and stat system right now would be way too complicated and would take way too long. but I will put a link in the description to a tutorial with which you can achieve a similar system. At the same time, I implemented an ability system also using scriptable objects and the power of reflection to find any object in the scene with just a string and activate it. We of course need a way to show the upgrades to the player so he can select the one he wants. Similar games use cards or simple UI. I decided to stick with the theme of the game a bit and made the upgrades in form of magical runes. Making 5 variants of this rune, we can display a different one depending on the level of the upgrade. Of course, we also need icons for every upgrade. The icons will be chosen at runtime based on the upgrades that are currently available to the player. The color of the icon will be calculated at runtime as well, based on the color of the rune. Otherwise, it would look really weird to have the same colored icon in each one of them. Okay, good. Putting everything together in Unity, we have something like this. Also notice that I gave each upgrade a name in the description so the player knows what they're choosing. And now we can easily add any kind of upgrades like increasing the number of boomerangs we throw. Oh well, there seems to be a slight problem again. After fixing this, I must say the upgrade system makes the game actually a lot more fun. There are also upgrades for your health, but it's kind of hard to see when there is no health bar. So yeah. Health bar. Obviously this was the first design and I didn't spend hours fiddling around with the shader graph to make a circular health bar just to find out it looks like shit at the end. But well, that's just how game development goes sometimes. We still need to figure out when the player can choose upgrades. Most games have a level system where you can collect XP and for every new level you can select an upgrade. But I wanted to make something different because I'm special. In my game, you can access a shop in the middle of the map and buy upgrades at any time if you have enough horns. Yes, I chose horns as the currency, well, because of the goat, which obviously dropped these horns. Every time you buy something, the upgrades reshuffle, but you can always reshuffle for some horns if you are totally unhappy with your current selection. We still have quite a few hours left, so why not add some more enemies? Of course, all of them related to horns. A crab? A snail? Sure, why not? Oh, a bull, yes, this should be interesting. All of them have different stats and attacks, which makes for some interesting gameplay. I already mentioned that the previous map was way too small, so I made a bigger one and also hooked the camera to the player. Also, look at this cool shop with that banging animation. Now there is not much left to do, and after adding a main menu, some sounds, music and some camera shake, our game is basically finished. Because I had some time left, I added a few more upgrades and abilities, but I won't go over them now, the video is already long enough. In fact, you can check them out for yourself because you can download the game with the link in the description completely free. And I'm aware that even the last version is still far from perfect and really unbalanced, there just was no time for playtesting. So if you want to make a demo for a potential game idea, I will plan at least 200 hours, probably even more, depending on the kind of game you're going for. If you want me to develop this game further, as always, like, subscribe and let me know in the comments. Click the video on the screen right now for another game development video of mine.